Hello, my Elmo brothers, back for one more. I don't know when this one is actually going to go up, but lately they've been talking about men going to college and the so-called gender gap and the mating crisis it's going to cause. And most of what they've been reading has come from other papers like the New York Times and the Atlantic and other places. But the original story, as I tracked down, was from the Wall Street Journal. But they reference it, but nobody's ever read the Wall Street Journal and actually talked about what was in it. I was the only one that mentioned it when I said, when I actually did the video Fuck a Mating Crisis, right? I actually mentioned the Wall Street Journal. And I had meant to actually read into the record the actual article. So this is going to be the actual read of the article as best I can, okay? It's not a short article. It's actually can be lengthy. So we'll give it my best shot to kind of line this up. So bear with me. If you don't like me reading articles, this is probably not the video from you. So this is just a warning. So if you don't want me to read the article, it's not your thing because it's not going to be the rant. Go back to the rant. Okay. This is just me doing this for the record and commenting on it. So, okay. A generation of American men give up on college. I just feel lost. This is from the Wall Street Journal. It's actually September 6th. The number of men enrolled at 2- and 4-year colleges has fallen behind women by record levels in a widening education gap across the U.S. Men are abandoning higher education in such numbers that they now trail female college students by record levels. At the close of the 2020-21 academic year, women made up 59.5% of college students, an all-time high, and men 40.5% according to enrollment data from the National Student Clearinghouse, a nonprofit research group. U.S. colleges and universities had 1.5 million fewer students compared with 5 years ago, and men accounted for 71% of the decline. This education gap, which holds at both 2- and 4-year colleges, has been slowly widening for 40 years. I wonder why that is. The divergence increases at graduation after 6 years of college. 65% of women in the U.S. who started a 4-year university in 2012 received diplomas by 2018, compared with 59% of men during the same period, according to the U.S. Department of Education. In the next few years, 2 women will earn a college degree for every man. If the trend continues, said Douglas Shapiro, Executive Director of Research Center at the National Student Clearinghouse. I wonder when they say the next few years, I wonder what that means. No reversal is in sight. Women increased their lead over men in college applications for the 2021-22 school year, 3,800,978 to 2,800,115,810 by nearly a percentage point compared with the previous academic year. That's 1 million more. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, 1 million more. According to Common Application, a nonprofit that transmits applications to more than 900 schools, women make up 49% of the college-age population in the U.S., according to the Census Bureau. Men are falling behind remarkably fast, said Thomas Mortensen, a senior scholar at the Pell Institute for the Study of Opportunity in Higher Education, which aims to improve educational opportunities for low-income, first-generation, and disabled college students. American colleges, which are embroiled in debates over racial and gender equality, and working on ways to reduce sexual assault and harassment of women on campus, have yet to reach a consensus on what might slow the retreat of men from higher education. Sexual assault and gender equality, that might have something to do with it. Anyway, some schools are quietly trying programs to enroll more men, but there is a scant campus support for spending resources to boost male attendance and retention. Dr. Johnson said exactly the same thing. He tried, a few years ago, according to his story, he can tell the story himself, to actually have programs to increase recruitment and retention of black male students at his campus. And guess what happened? Just what he was saying. So he is not an isolated incident. This is nationwide, and not just for black kids. The gender enrollment disparity among nonprofit colleges is widest at private four-year schools, where the proportion of women during the 2020-2021 school year grew to an average of 61%, a record high, Clearinghouse data show. Some of the schools extend offers to a higher percentage of male applicants, trying to get a closer balance of men and women. There is a thumb on the scale for boys. Absolutely, said Jennifer Delahunty, a college enrollment consultant who previously led the admissions office at Kenyon College in Gambier, Ohio, and Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon. The question is that right or wrong? Ms. Delahunty said this kind of tacit affirmative action for boys has become higher education's dirty little secret, practiced but not publicly acknowledged by many private universities where gender balance has gone off kilter. It's unfortunate that we're not giving this issue air and sun so that we can start to address it, she said. At Baylor University, where the undergraduate student body is 60% female, Baylor, the admission rate for men last year was 7 percentage points higher than for women. Every student has to meet Baylor's admission standards to earn admission, said Jessica King, the school's assistant vice president of enrollment strategy and innovation. Classes, however, are shaped to balance several variables, including gender, she said. Ms. Garrity said that she found that girls more closely attended to their college applications than boys, for instance, making sure transcripts are delivered. Baylor created a males and moms communication campaign a few years ago to keep high school boys on track, she said. Among the messages to mothers in the campaign, Ms. Garrity said, "At the dinner table tonight, Mom, we need you to talk about getting your high school transcripts in." In other words, basically, moms care more about getting the girls' transcripts in than the boys because they have parents. A 17-year-old, getting a 17-year-old's transcripts and sending them out, the parents can do that. They don't have to leave it up to the kid. Race and gender can't be considered in admission decisions at California's public universities. The proportion of male undergraduates at UCLA fell to 41% in the fall semester of 2020 from 45% in fall 2013. Over the same period, undergraduate enrollment expanded by nearly 3,000 students. Of these spots, 9 out of 10 went to women. We do not see male applicants being less competitive than female applicants, UCLA Vice Provost Yolanda Copeland Morgan said, but fewer men apply. College gender gap cuts across race, geography, and economic background. For the most part, white men, once the predominant group on American campuses, no longer hold a statistical edge in enrollment rates, said Mortensen of the Pell Institute. Enrollment rates for poor and working class white men are lower than those of young black, Latino, and Asian men from the same economic backgrounds, according to an analysis of census data by Pell Institute for the Journal. With rare exceptions, women have a higher enrollment rate than men of the same race. White men's enrollment isn't much higher and often lower than minority men in the same income group. They're actually showing a chart. No college wants to tackle the issue under the glare of gender politics, said Ms. Delahunty, the enrollment consultant. The conventional view on campuses, she said, is that men make more money, men hold higher positions. Why should we give them a little shove from high school to college? Yet the stakes are too high to ignore, she said. If you care about our society, 1 and 2, if you care about women, you have to care about the boys too. If you have equally educated numbers of men and women, that just makes a better society, and it makes for better women. So this is basically about women. It's really not about men. The pandemic accelerated the trend. Nearly 700,000 fewer students were enrolled in colleges in spring 2021 compared to spring 2019. A journal analysis found with 78% fewer men. The decline in male enrollment during the 2020-2021 academic year was the highest at a two-year community colleges. The decline in male enrollment during the 2020-2021 academic year was the highest at two-year community colleges. Family finances are believed to be one cause. Millions of women left jobs to stay home with children when schools closed in the pandemic. Many turned to their sons for help. Some young men quit school to work. Where have we heard this before? Said Colleen Coffey, Executive Director of the College Planning Collaborative, Framingham State University in Massachusetts, a program to help students in school. The guys felt they needed to step in quickly. Mrs. Coffey said, it isn't clear how many will return to school after the pandemic. Over the course of their working lives, American college graduates earn more than $1 million beyond those who with only a high school diploma, and a university diploma is required for many jobs as well as most professionals, technical work, and positions of influence. Yet skyrocketing education costs have made college more risky today than for past generations, potentially saddling graduates lower-paying careers, as well as those who drop out with student loans they can't repay. Social science researchers cite distractions and obstacles to education that weigh more on boys and young men, including video games, pornography, and fatherlessness, and cases of overdiagnosis of boyhood restlessness and related medications. We've been saying that about black boys for years. Nobody pays attention, but now they have to. Men in interviews around the U.S. say they quit school or didn't enroll because they didn't see enough value in a college degree for all the effort and expense required to earn one. Many said they wanted to make money after high school. Daniel Browse, 18 years old, graduated in June from Hastings High School in Hastings, Minnesota. He decided against college during his senior year, despite earning a 3.5 grade point average and winning $2,500 in college scholarship from a local veterans organization. He took a landscaping job and takes home about $500 a week. Well, that's not bad. Mr. Browse, a musician, also earns some income from creating and selling music through streaming services, he said, and invests in cryptocurrencies. His parents both attended college, and they hope he, too, will eventually apply. So far, they haven't pressured him, he said. If I was going to be a doctor or a lawyer, then obviously those people need a formal education. But there are definitely ways to get around it now, Mr. Browse said. There are opportunities that weren't taught in school that could be a lot more promising than getting a college degree. That is a fact. That's probably why most men have probably not gone in. Many young men who dropped out of college said they worried about their future, but nonetheless quit school with no plan in mind. I would say I feel hazy, said 23-year-old Jay Wells, who quit Defiance College in Ohio after a semester. He lives with his mother, delivers pallets of soda for Coca-Cola in Toledo for about $20 an hour. It's not bad. I'm sort of waiting for a light to come on till I figure out what to do next. God, the writing is bad. Jack Bartholomew, 19, started his freshman year at Bowling Green State University during the pandemic, taking his classes online. During the first weeks, he said he was confused by the course material and grew frustrated. Finally, he quit. I didn't know what I'm going to do. I just feel lost. Mr. Bartholomew's parents and one older sister have college degrees. He was a solid student in high school, but was interested in studying graphic design. Yet while working online from his second-floor bedroom, his introductory courses seemed pointless for how much he was paying, he said. He works 40 hours a week at $15.50 an hour packing boxes at Amazon warehouse not far from his house in Perrysburg, Ohio. It isn't a long-term job, Mr. Bartholomew said. He doesn't know what to do next. College seems like, to me at least, the only logical path you can take in America, he said. But for now, he said, it's too big a struggle financially and academically. Men dominate top positions in industry, finance, politics, and entertainment. They also hold a majority of tenured faculty positions and run most U.S. campuses. Yet female college students are running laps around their male counterparts. The University of Vermont is typical. The school president is a man, and so are nearly 2/3 of the campus trustees. Men made up about 80% of honors graduates last year in the colleges of arts and sciences. One student from nearly every high school in Vermont is nominated for a significant scholarship at the campus every year. Most of them are girls, said Jay Jacobs, the university's provost for enrollment management. It isn't by design. We want more men in our pipeline, Dr. Jacobs said. But boys graduate from high school and enroll in college at lower rates than girls, both in Vermont and nationwide. Okay, this is something that Moynihan said way back in 1965 when it was actually applied to the black community. So indeed, the world is a ghetto. The young men who enroll lag behind. Among University of Vermont undergraduates, about 55% of male students graduate in 4 years compared with 70% of women. I see a lot of guys that are here for 4 years, drink beer, smoke weed, hang out, and get a degree, said Luke Weiss, a civil engineering student and fraternity president of Pi Kappa Alpha at the campus. Female students in the U.S. benefit from a support system established decades ago, spanning a period when women struggled to gain a foothold on college campuses. There are more than 500 women's centers at schools nationwide. Most centers host clubs and organizations that work to help female students succeed. Young women appear eager to take leadership roles, making up 59% of student body presidents in 2019-2020 academic year, and 74% of student body vice presidents, according to W.H. Butch Oxendine Jr., executive of the American Student Government Association. Across all types of institutions, particularly two-year institutions, but extending into public and private four-year institutions, women dominate student government executive boards, Mr. Oxendine said. Many young men are hobbled by a lack of guidance, a strain of anti-intellectualism, and a growing belief that college degrees don't pay off, said Ed Grokolski, a senior vice president at Junior Achievement USA, which works with about 5 million students every year to teach about career paths, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. What I see is there is a kind of hope deficit, Mr. Grokolski said. This is a long article. Young men get little help in part because schools are focused on encouraging historically underrepresented students. Gerlando Jackson, Department Chair Education, Leadership and Policy Analysis at the University of Wisconsin's School of Education, said few campuses have been willing to spend limited funds on male underachievement that would also benefit white men, risking criticism for assisting those who have historically been held who have historically held the biggest educational advantages. As a country, we don't have the tools yet to help white men to find themselves needing help, Dr. Jackson said. To be in a time when there are groups of white men that are falling through the cracks, it's hard. Keith E. Smith, a mental health counselor and men's outreach coordinator at the University of Vermont, said that when he started working with the school in 2006, he found that men were much more likely to face consequences for the trouble they caused under the influence of drugs and alcohol. In 2008, Mr. Smith proposed a men's center to help male students succeed. The proposal drew criticism from women who asked, why would you give more resources to the most privileged group on campus, he said. Funding was not appropriated, he said, and the center was never built. The University of Oregon has one of the few college men's centers which offers help for mental and physical health. Men don't need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, said Kerry Frazee, Director of Prevention Services who works with the center. No one can do it all by themselves. In other words, you can't offer your way through this shit. That is a long article, and I don't blame you for not sticking with it. This is obviously for the people that care. And since it's a long article, it's going to be a very, very short conversation. Basically, the chickens have come on the roost. Basically, you have tilted the floor. You've tilted the balance in the favor of women. And for all the resources you poured into these women to build a better outcome, to build a better society, it has not come to fruition. In other words, the gamble that you took to actually put the control of the society in the hands of women has not helped it, not helped the men. Okay, you haven't built a better society. You've actually torn it down. And the men that would help you build a society in a way that you see fit are not having it. That's how come they're leaving. They don't see a value in it. And all COVID did was accelerate it. So I don't think you're going to get these guys back unless you change a whole lot of stuff. I mean, just building a men's center to actually bring in men and help men out, and help men cope with the university. Changing the curriculum to be more male friendly would help. Changing the curriculum from K through 12 would help. But you're not going to do it because guess what? Women like being in charge. And women would rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. And they're the first ones to complain about the balance. They complain about the balance, but they don't do anything about it. Dr. Phil Valentine said it a long time ago. It's got to be at least 20 years. Women don't fix anything. They don't create anything. They complain. They complain about deficits. Women have been put in charge of fixing things, making a balance, solving problems, building a structure, building a better society. Do you see them doing it? No, they're doubling down on the same thing. We want everything on our side, and we don't want you to have nothing. But yet we expect you to come to the table with the same thing we did, even though we had way more help. We don't want to help you. We don't want to help the very men that we need, which on the surface makes no sense. White women are starting to become the same kind of person, same kind of group that black women always have. You're not helping your men, you're competing against your men. And by competing against your men, you actually ruin your society. Societies are cooperative, not competitive. Competing to have dominance over your men, over your group, does not help your group. It tears them apart, especially when two people have to come together. Black women, men and women are supposed to be teammates, especially in their own separate groups. White men and white women used to be teammates. They no longer are. And now you see the disintegration of this society. It's going to happen. It's going to accelerate. And men know when they're being competed against. If a white woman is a man's competitor, he has no reason to work with her. So white men are basically seeing the same things that black men saw 40, 50 years ago. It's the exact same thing. Oh, well, chickens have come home to roost. We could do tons of stats behind this. I mean, we could just go through the whole thing. I got 3 or 4 guys that are PhDs that are in this field I could, draw upon. But, like I said, I'm a regular content creator. This is not my lane nor my stilo. Not really my interest. Okay, I've got tons of other things I can actually talk about. So this is not one of them. But I just wanted to read the actual article from whence it came. I might read a couple more, but I think this will suffice. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.